Okay, hi friends. I'm here with Kari Odermann, American political analyst at GLOBSEC. We just finished 3 days of GLOBSEC. Kari, you follow Ukraine and you lived in Ukraine. I know you're passionate about Ukraine. So what do you think about the current state of European security, about war in Ukraine after this conference? What are your conclusions in a nutshell?
I'm really, really worried about one thing in particular. Oh, two things. First of all, algorithm-driven infrastructure. I don't think that's being addressed enough. People are talking about debunking, pre-bunking. I feel like I'm in Ukraine in 2020, where these things were being discussed and handled. Here, Europe has finally woken up. They're talking about educating the public. That's great. But we really need to talk about the pipeline that's waiting the information. I like to say to people, you can tell me that I can stand in a stadium and say whatever I want. But if you don't give me a microphone and nobody hears me, you're controlling who gets the information. And that's what a lot of these algorithm-driven platforms are doing. And we have to figure out what's behind them and how they're prioritizing things. And the other thing is really about European identity. Because after World War II, during the Cold War, there was this idea about values-driven foreign policy. And Ukraine has been talking about that a lot. I just got back from a trip to Taiwan. They talk about it a lot too. It's about being democratic. It's about, these democratic values. But right now we have a situation where everything is being reshuffled in the world, and these values, these normative foreign policy ideas are being pushed away for just interest. And that's really hard for Europeans to understand. And there has to be a rethinking because they have to start adjusting to this new idea. And I worry that Europe is not going to be able to be fast enough because you can have democratic values inside, and that can be important to you. But on the outside, the world's not functioning like that. As a matter of fact, if you look at global population, less than 12% of the population is in a democracy. But we in the West always assume everyone plays by our rules. And we need to wake up if we're going to be effective. And within Europe, there is that danger that when politicians have to start being pragmatic and making hard decisions, that they're not going to get reelected. And people that may have really easy rhetorical answers to complicated questions on the far right or far left are going to come in, and that's really going to influence Ukraine's safety. And then this idea about the importance of Ukraine's European trajectory and its fight for democracy and how important that is. You've got countries like the United States that aren't pushing democracy anymore. And it makes me worry if that is going to be what Ukraine needs to hold up as a sign. And I personally think this pivot from the Zelensky administration to do this drone diplomacy and have something to make it transactional again, to have a value, to reason to support Ukraine. I think that might be where it's going, but I don't like it. So those are my key takeaways.
Yeah, thank you for that. And yeah, I hope that Ukraine is democracy. We fight for democracy, we fight for freedom. And this is at least, I think, is still visible to Europe and even to American audience, because American public, they support Ukraine because of that. And we want to make sure that it will stay this way, that we will keep Ukraine a wartime democracy. This is something I think which is positive, but I agree with their dangers, and we also worry about the results of European election very soon, in our neighboring countries and further in France and so on and so on. But well, I hope that Ukraine will give good example.
Yeah, and Ukraine is actually being held to a higher standard than a lot of democracies right now.
That's right. That's right. Thank you, Kari.
You're welcome.